draft 2. It is July the 7th, 8:31 a.m. Roll, please.
Rick Brewer, Bob Edens, Keith Gibson,
Here.
Sally Lawrence, here, Ray Jesse,
Here.
Johnny Metz,
Here.
Charlie Thacker,
Here.
we have Mark DeWitt.
Here.
Mr. Chairman, we have 6 members present constituting quorum.
Thank you. At this time, we'll go ahead and recognize Eric Cannon to begin going over draft 2. I know the sheriff's here and he's got some things he wants to address, so I don't know if we wanna go ahead and get that resolved first.
I'm fine with these. If you want to turn the floor over to the sheriff and let him get started, that's fine with me.
We can go ahead and do that. He can get on his way. I know he's got a busy schedule.
30 seconds. 30 seconds.
30 seconds.
First of all, we're honoring your social distancing. We probably have about 25 to 30 officers standing in the hallway. We thought it was gonna be across the street, but anyway, they're here to represent the sales in my office. I'm sorry to make the last meeting, I was under the impression that we didn't have to be here. But, as some of you know, I was watching online and got to make a few comments, but just a few things I want to say to you is, this comment been made that I've been out of touch since the pandemic. I think if anybody knows about a pandemic, I do, because me and my office has never slowed down. The pandemic didn't really affect us, but we had to have business as usual. We still had to run a jail, so I answered calls, still had to send officers inside the homes and the whole thing, so we understand. We also understand we work 24/7 in the holidays. We're here, we're the only agency that works in this county every day of the year, and every night. A couple of comments that I want to make to you is, I guess it's from the first meeting, since I wasn't here, I'd ask you to reconsider putting the vehicles back into the jail part of it. These are for work vehicles, and I don't have to tell you how much work the inmate work group has done. But just so you know, they saved the county thousands of dollars in July last year to April this year. They done 182 projects. That's anything from repairing, doing remodel here at the mayor's office, to mowing the airport, the armory, nonprofits. They done paint and remodeling. They do all the convenience centers. They do some of the football fields at the schools, and do the airport. And going to the Law Run, which you got off, or inmates going up there with John now. We need these vehicles to transport our equipment and these inmates. What we've been using is vehicles that we've used, drugs that we've seized off drug dealers. And they're wore out, and we're gonna eventually have to sell them and put that money back in the drug fund. So that's what these vehicles are $50,000 for, to buy vehicles, used vehicles that's in good shape, weed eaters, lawnmowers and stuff, and continue this program. And then also, there was a comment made about the $3,000 workout settlement. Some of you haven't been around. I'm the fourth sheriff to receive that. It started way back, and none of me or the prior sheriffs have ever asked for a raise, and I'm definitely not asking for one. I'm just saying it wasn't all just for me to do. The big thing, I guess, that I'd like you to reconsider is raise for my employees again. They work hard, they're dedicated, work many hours, and they all have to be state certified. You gotta go to the police academy. And I'm trying to get saved money too, because when you think about it, in the last 15 years, Hawkins County taxpayers have sent 55 people to the police academy, and 7 to transition. That costs money. When you figure out the overtime that we're having to pay out of the sheriff's budget over all these years, but the money I'm having to pay for overtime, front end, we won't be spending and wasting on the back end. And every year, you know, when I first took office, every year I was turning in money, but we got in a financial crisis. I mean, we as the county, and the money we was turning back in, well, some commission at that time, somebody wasn't here, and we wasn't using it, so they cut it. That's why there's not been a lot of money been turned back in, because we're doing the best we can to save money. But I just want y'all to consider a raise for my employees. They deserve it, you know. I want to send somebody to your house, protect you and serve you, that's not only highly trained, but I want experienced people. Y'all know what's going on in America right now. You know the dangers that you all face in the communities and churches and the Walmarts and these men and women. We got drug dealers, we got gang members in the jail. We're facing danger everywhere we turn. We need experienced people to represent you, to protect you and your family. That's the bottom line. We gotta have them. And I'm just asking you to consider investing in these men and women. And I know I'm not asking you to raise them, but save them. We're spending money on the back end, always have, for all these years. Hawkins County's paid to send these officers to the academy and send somewhere else. And we're the best of them. And how many people do we have that retires from Hawkins County Sheriff's Office? A couple handfuls at the most. I just ask you to think about it. I know we've been in a pandemic. We're gonna spend this money anyway by paying people out, paying it overtime and retraining. I just ask you to consider investing in them. Let's see if we can make a difference, because like I said, if I send somebody to your house, if your husband or wife is home by themselves and they're in trouble, you want somebody to pull in that driveway to be highly trained and experienced to save your family member's life, your children's life, and their life. And I have probably representatives from every division outside the highway, corrections, narcotics, protective division. If y'all have a question for them, I'm glad to ask them to step in here and ask your questions, or I'll answer any questions you all have right now.
Did anyone have any questions, comments, suggestions?
You got a dollar figure on what it cost you last year to replace all your pipe, which is,
I don't have, we spent out, like 90,000 on just paying them out. When we train, when it costs us about $38,000 to train one time. You send them to the academy, you paid overtime and all this stuff. It's about $38,000 per officer going to the police academy. Plus expenses of going to that academy.
so if you sent, I'm just asking a question. If you sent 10 people to the police academy, that's $380,000. If they don't have to be retrained, then you're gonna spend $380,000.
We save that money and not have to do the in servers. And speaking of training, last year, which y'all know I got the sheriff's side and the correction side, we trained over 11,000 hours last year. We want them to be highly trained, we want them to be safe. In the jail, they trained over 4,600 hours. That's above and beyond what the state mandates. We want these people to be trained, experienced, to be able to protect themselves and you all.
I saw in the paper, I think 3 or 4 days ago, maybe right at part of the last week, Kingsport's having the same problem, keeping people. So I don't know if they're leaving, I don't know what the problem is, but I did see it today.
Kingsport lost a few of theirs to Southern County and one to KHP.
You anticipate probably the way things are now, it's gonna be harder and harder to find people to even
I can also tell you in the last month, our applications have dropped down 80%. Cause I think I got 3 on my desk right now for corrections, and can't just put anybody in that job. And as far as control division, I lost another one at Churchill 2 weeks ago. I anticipate more going with other agencies soon. But yeah, you're right, cause I think Johnson City's down like 28 right now.
Community safety.
No, sir. If we got 22 people here that supports our sheriff and supports this community, that need all the help we can get them.
I guess the question that I've got is, you know, we've factored in a COLA for all of your employees at 1.6%, which follows CPI, which is, when did we pass that resolution? Was it 2 years
August
ago?
of 19, I believe.
August of 19, that said that we would follow Social Security percentage or CPI for raises, which is what we've done within this budget. So I don't know what the protocol would be to go away from that. You follow what I'm saying? I don't know, what is it we're supposed to do? Because, you know, your department sets the pay scale. That is up to you. You chose not to be a part of the county's pay scale, so you chose to establish your own.
Yeah, but the reason they done that is because I didn't want them comparing me to other sheriff's offices. I wanted to compare me to the cities and the Hollow Troll, and they wouldn't do that, so I don't waste the taxpayers' money on something that wasn't even gonna benefit me. I'm not losing them to the other sheriff's office, I'm losing them to the city, and that's why I stayed out of that, because it was a waste of time and energy.
But I understand, but from our standpoint, that wouldn't be a true comp, that wouldn't be a true comparison. And I'm not personnel, Commissioner DeWitt's head of personnel committee, and he may want to bring that up. I'm just looking at the numbers and not trying to get, you know, into the personal and or personnel aspect of it. But in my mind, what I keep looking at is our general fund, out of that 2.5323 of the tax rate, 0.9116, which is 91.16 cents of that tax rate goes to the general fund. So that funds all of county services except for solid waste, Board of Education, Highway Department,
Debt services
and debt service
and capital projects.
and capital projects. So everything else is funded from that 91.16 cents. The sheriff's department and the jail cumulatively gets 59.38 cents. That's 65% of the entire general fund budget. So for us, what do we need to do? Because we are actually at the point of funding, well, to be honest, we're at the point of funding law enforcement at a higher rate than we are in education. And I'm not saying that's right or wrong, I'm just saying we as a commission have to determine what is it that we want to do. What's our most important priorities on behalf of the residents of Hawkins County? Because in my mind, and I'm just one person, but if we're gonna fund 7.5%, which was, what was it, $343,481 at 7.5%, that is a 3.3 cent property tax increase. If that's what the commission wants to do, then you have to vote for a property tax increase. Otherwise, you're gonna be in a significant deficit position. There's no way around it. You're already, as we sit right now, $750,000 in the red. Granted, that's underestimating revenues, overestimating expenditures, and with good conservative budgeting, we may break even at the end of next budget cycle.
But when that money's appropriated, it can legally be spent.
So that's, I don't think there's a single individual in county government, on county commission, that is anti-law enforcement. Everyone will, you make a phone call to any of these commissioners and want a donation for something that sheriff's department's doing, you know, they do what they can. So there's no way that, you know, we can be billed as anti-law enforcement. We just have to make responsible, educated decision on how to do this.
I understand what you're saying, and I've been around the county commission for about 30 years, so I understand how it works. And I have enough sense to know that I wouldn't get a 7.5%, but I had to start somewhere. What I'm trying to do is quit blowing the money on the back end of it. Let's quit paying people out for $90,000. Let's quit spending $37,000 to train. Let's quit spending overtime. Just make it work and not keep blowing it year after year after year, because you're, over all this period of time, you're spending millions of dollars that you're getting nothing for. Go out the door. Now that, if you wanna save and cut, that's one of the good place to start.
And I understand you're educating and training your officers for other departments.
Yes.
And I wanna ask this, that just because I'm ignorant on the subject, but in some entities, there is an incentive program for contractual obligation. Once an officer is trained, if you're gonna fund that officer, that they have to sign an employment contract.
We have that.
You do have that?
Yeah, we have some that had to reimburse the money for that.
Okay. So I wasn't aware of that.
But when you look at all the police officers and deputies in Hawkins County, there's about 5, maybe 6 that the county did not train. I'm one of them. I went to City of Rogersville back, some of the people anymore, I think like 43 years today, matter of fact. But, that's what I'm gonna do, is save money. Blowing it, I hate spending that money out year after year after year, paying people to go somewhere else, trying to train people. And when you put somebody through the academy, they still got to ride with somebody else for 6 to 8 weeks or longer, depends on their mentality and how well they pick up on it. And so I've got to pay overtime to have that shift full because our call volume is so high. And things are so dangerous, you gotta have at least 6 on the road now. Y'all know CTAS done that, the jail. They said it was 500, I didn't even ask for those 5 positions, I can't feel what I got now. But we're 500 staff, and that's jeopardizing the safety and well-being of all the inmates and the correctional officers. We're having fights in there every day, and some of you been there, and some of you haven't. It's a dangerous environment. When you get places like Target paying $15 an hour, or Walmart, or McDonald's, these men and women are standing in the face of danger for 12 hours and look at gang members threatening them about their families and them with their lives. For $11.95 an hour starting now. And people says, I see it all the time on Facebook, well, they knew what it paid when they took it. Well, nobody wants to take it, stay at the bottom, they kind of want a little incentive to stay, and as you grow older and get more experience, you expect a little more, and you get ranked and stuff. Hawkins County's blown money for many, many years, it's time to stop. One of the cities loses one for any reason, retirement or whatever, and I think maybe a couple of them in Rossville's even considering retirement. Where will they get their crop? Bucks. That. And you can't blame Rossville, you can't blame the officers. Even if they go to Churchill, I lost one last week at Churchill, or the week before last. I can't blame that officer, I can't blame them for going to THB. They're trying to provide their families, and the majority of my employees work 2 and 3 jobs, provide for their family. When they work in those jobs, they're jeopardizing their safety and well-being as long as, and yours sits for not being on top of their game while they're tired of been working so many jobs. I just want you to consider saving some of this money that you're actually blowing on the back end of it.
Sure, along that line though, you said the money that's being spent on the back end, is that in this budget? And can you identify some line items we can pull some things out of
Yeah, it's,
to put into salaries?
you're talking about, all your training, your overtime, your salaries to, which the deputies, uniforms, because even whenever you go buy a uniform for somebody that, you know, if Sergeant Bond leaves, his uniform ain't gonna fit, you know, somebody that you hire, so yeah, it's all the way across the board that you're gonna have, savings in on it. But going back on what everybody keeps on saying is the COLA is, in the last 10 years, it's went up 15.2%. That's documented. That's state, COLA, through the state of Tennessee, Social Security has went up 15.2%. 2010, it was 0%. 2011, it was 3.6%. 2012, it was 1.7%. 13, 1.5%. 14, 1.7%. 15, 0%. 16.3. 17, 2.0. 18, 2.8. 19, 1.6. And that's how they came up with the 7.5%. We take it and we have to.
But in those years, you have received some of that COLA, so you can't really take it down and take it down.
Yeah, but I think you're looking at 7% in 10 years.
I guess what I'm saying is,
7% in 10 years.
you firmly believe that you can save some of this money by adding to the salaries, find us some places in here we can pull some of that money out and add to the salary.
Well, you know that you could do that for the year that you're in right now, because we still got to train people that where you're going to lose. I love Hawkins County, lifelong. I will be here till the day I die. I love Hawkins County Sheriff's Office. I just like to see our employees be able to provide for their families, provide for the citizens of Hawkins County, and everybody sees it, how it's changing from day to day. People's gonna get out on law enforcement. We're gonna keep the ones we got. Nobody's gonna want to get in this job. So, I mean, it's just getting harder and harder every day, and I do appreciate our county commission. We usually have no issues whatsoever, and I appreciate every one of y'all, because y'all got a hard job, but thank y'all for listening to me. I do appreciate everyone.
Can you email that data that you pull that from?
Yeah, it's on, just, I email it, it's just on,
On
So-
the Social Security website.
yeah, it's right there.
Okay, we'll look over that. So, as you stated, the 7.5% COLA was aim high, settle somewhere in between.
That was my wish.
So what's that ultimate target? I mean, not ultimate target, because I think all of us would want it to be significantly higher than the 7.5%, because even 7.5% is not gonna inhibit people from leaving for higher paying jobs. That's just human nature. So,
I personally don't have anything on my mind as a target. I'd like to work with the commission and help my employees as best I possibly can.
Have you ever thought about, I don't know, I don't think you do this currently, you may do, I don't know for sure. You ever thought about any type of bonus incentive, like get so much per year for however many years you've been there, take some of that money out of those other funds if they stay?
Salary scale takes care of a lot of that.
But that's why we have that salary scale for
But,
that.
I mean, in addition to that,
Because whenever the study was done, we actually saved money from being on the salary, because I think at that time, they was gonna look at everybody on a 7, And if you put everybody across our board on the 7, that would cost a lot of money especially inside the corrections side of it, which we would like it, but we know.
That wouldn't work either. You see what I'm saying,
I do.
like you get your steps anyway, but in addition to that, possibly give him so many dollars for each year they've been
One
members.
ticket,
Exactly. But that takes money as well,
that's money too.
and I'm sorry.
I understand. I also understood you had that big, general fund for the courthouse employees last year. That's why I didn't ask for anything. I knew the county was up against you for that, and I didn't.
That was not, I wouldn't classify it as a big increase, because we went over 3 years, and it actually equaled slightly more than a 2% COLA increase. They didn't get a COLA last year, they just went up a little bit on the scale. So it wasn't a huge hit to the budget. What was it, Eric, 80?
It was about, I think, a $10,000 or $15,000 difference, yeah, it was.
Not sure that's last year.
Ronnie, I'd like to ask a question. First of all, congratulations on your 43 years.
Yeah.
You're on board. You were talking about doing a payout. Can you clarify a little bit when somebody leaves? Is that, you talking about overtime, you talking about comp time? What exactly are you talking about?
Pay their comp time out, their holiday,
Vacation.
vacation, no holiday, yeah, not holiday vacation. And,
And it's only up to 40 hours. You can't go over, because that's what you can roll over.
yeah,
40 hours of
Vacation.
vacation.
Days, 30 days.
30 days.
30
Sorry.
days, which is standard across the board for all employees. You can accumulate as of June 30th, 30 days of vacation. So anybody who leaves is entitled to their payout of their vacation. Your sick time is frozen, that counts off from retirement, or if you ever regain employment with the county. And then whatever comp time hours you have is yours to be paid out as well.
But you said there is a maximum on it.
There is, as long as you're staying in compliance with it, yes, 30 days is max as of June 30th. You can go over 30, or other parts of the year, as of June 30th, you have to be back in alignment for 30 days.
I'm looking at this form I got. Earliest I see is March 2019 to, I guess pretty much close to date. For 38 employees, we paid out $86,319 in my budget. 38 people leave. The big ones, it hurts when you got people that's been, 4 or 5 years, 8 years, 5 years, 7 years, 7 years, 31 years, 9 years. Those hurt. Just replace people, replacing that experience on the road and the jail, it's very hard.
Was the 31 retirement?
No, went to my car. Just ask for your consideration to do something for my employees.
I mean, you got a total, what it cost you for these people leave, you got 86,000 payout, and you got 90,000 overtime, that's another figure that goes into that.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking, like we was discussing a minute ago, training, in Cincinnati Academy, that costs you about $8,000. The overtime that somebody has to fill that shoe, whatever their pay grade is you're looking at probably about 120 hours of time that you've got to get covered. Uniforms, I mean, it goes all the way across the board. That's, actually, I've got it down to, it cost to train somebody, is it on that sheet, 39,000? Yeah, $37,962.70 is basically what it costs to train an officer. One officer. So, now, that's give or take. I mean, I can't pitch you down to the exact number, because it all depends on who's filling that shoes or that wall.
Say, let's say 35,000.
So, I would probably say 40,000. But my number is always low, so. always gonna have somebody
But
leave.
what can you cut that number down to, half?
You're asking me to project something that I can't project, cause it all depends on people.
So I understand that, but I mean, if we're gonna do this for a reason, we'd like to have some number to shoot for, like, we can keep having people, we can keep it 30 people or something.
Problem with that is when they leave, they're still gonna make more money at Churchill, RPD, THD.
Yeah, I mean,
So
that's
that
what I'm saying.
incentive to upgrade is still gonna be there.
If you got, and I'm thinking, if right now we got 70 people that's left, and if we're going into this dollar wise, if you can say, well, half as many people's gonna leave, then that's gonna kind of compensate for.
Take the money along, that's what I'm trying to say.
Tony, do you have a breakdown of how many of those are deputies versus how many of those are jailers?
Yeah, I've got it on sheet that I can. It's probably 3/4 to, it's probably 3/4 corrections,
Okay.
so, yeah, 3/4 corrections, I mean, that's a rough number, so.
The corrections people have to be trained too.
Absolutely. TCI, they gotta go through,
State certified.
training at the basic training school is about a week long, and then they have to have another 16 hours, a year. And of course, you've got a couple more things that's been thrown in there now because of the penalty that's going to be trained on this year, next year. So that 16 hours is probably gonna go to 20 hours, I'm guessing, something like that. And 20 hours times 60-some people's a lot of hours to get training in.
Is there a training line item in the budget?
It's called in-service.
524.
Okay.
You will.
And we do most of the training on correction side in-house.
Any further questions for Sheriff or Chief Allen?
I think we discussed something about maybe earmarking some of the money in board bill or something too, maybe something you want to consider as a.
Speak on that.
If you would, please.
Upon further research, it is already entirely earmarked for the sheriff's department. So you can't earmark the same money twice. It's already all theirs.
Say that again, Mary. I didn't-
All the state board bill, we talked last time about incentivizing the board bill, setting a benchmark and saying anything over this you can have for your department, it's already all his. Can't give them the same money twice.
Be nice.
Yeah, we would. If we could count it twice, that'd be great.
No further questions? Okay, Sheriff, Chief Allen, we may give you a call if we've got any further questions throughout the day.
Okay.
I greatly appreciate everybody's candor and openness and being able to discuss this, try to find a suitable solution. We're all going to work towards that. And we greatly appreciate you, appreciate what you do. I'll keep you posted.
Appreciate the opportunity to speak to you, and we're here to serve. Thank you. Pray for us during this week.
We will.
Excellent. Mr. Buchanan, back to you, sir.
All right. Real brief budget notes for you, just kind of an overview of all the changes in this second draft. Start with the general fund. All the items approved from the green sheets are now included in the budget. All the contributions that were accepted at whatever level we wanted to accept them at are now in the budget for the second draft. The two main reductions would be in 51,300, 119 county mayors, which is myself. That salary was reduced to spread line over 2 years. And 51,500, 193 election workers. That reduction was there that we talked about to not establish that new baseline for maintenance of effort. So you you see those both reflected in the second draft. Another change that I don't know if it was mentioned in front of the full commission or not, if it was just conversation me and the chairman had, but the BGA grant for 55190, the health department, those numbers had shifted a little bit, increased, but that is a wash because the matching state money washes that out. So those are just adjusted to reflect the new contract. No net effect on the budget. The archives utilities is now in the archives budget as you all requested. You will see the matching decrease in county buildings to offset the change from those utilities where they were formerly paid to where you guys wanted them shown in the budget that they're actually incurring. County Commission now has a $499 instead of $349, as we previously discussed. The $349 line item wasn't really the most appropriate for the expenditures that were coming out of there. So now we have a $499 under supplies and materials. And one other change that we weren't aware of at the last draft, also in County Commission budget, audit services. I increased that $800 to reflect the rate that we're gonna be billed at next year. Audit services did us a solid this year. They billed us at last year's rate due to the COVID pandemic, but anticipate next year's rate being billed at what they said. Who knows if they'll do it again, but the budget needed to have the appropriate amount in there in case they billed us at what they told us they will. That's all I have for you on general fund. And of course, you have a summary sheet that shows you how those changes affected the bottom line for next year. The other handout I gave you is for your contributions notebook. Those are some other folks who have now turned in their budget information, so I want you guys all have that. Solid waste is relatively unchanged. The only change you'll see in that second draft will be an increase to the landfill contract. Once the mayor got that shared with me, I put it in the budget appropriately. Your drug fund budget is unchanged. Your highway budget, you will see changes in expenditures related to payroll. The other expenditures are still an estimate, but payroll has now been finalized in there, and that budget was a little easier to go through, a little faster, so you'll see all actuals in highway payroll except for unemployment, which hasn't been filed yet this quarter. If you go to your debt service, general, special, and education, those budgets will be unchanged from first draft. And then if you go to your general capital projects fund, the only change you will see is last time we discussed leaving those 5 cents in there tentatively. Those 5 cents are now on the revenue side of that budget, and we currently have no expenditures in that budget plan for this fiscal year. Those are your changes in a nutshell for the second draft. If you have any questions on those or want to go over those in more detail, if not, then you'll see our revenues for next year estimated are still at 17.7, expenditures at 18.4, leaving us, as we discussed earlier, roughly $750,000 in the red. Starting off the year, beginning fund balance estimated 7.9, pulling out the loss in the committed, restricted, and assigned funds, leaving us at 6.2 for next year. Absolutely.
Cause I don't remember these things. What was our unassigned fund balance June 30th last year in this bottom line? What was it at that point?
For last year, our actual or estimated, I'm not sure I understood the.
Estimated, like the bottom line here, I was wanting to compare last year and this year.
Bear with me. Last year, our original budget, we planned to end at 5.8 million. And then of course now as we're winding down and we're looking at where we're actually gonna land, it looks like we're gonna land at 6.8 million. And since you touched on that, I did figure a few things that I just wanted to mention to the committee. It kind of goes along with what Mr. Metz did at the last full county commission meeting, referencing some of the rumors that our revenues and expenditures were off to a certain degree. And I wanted to kind of debunk that. Granted, these are still estimates because the year has not, although it has ended, all the numbers aren't in, so it takes a while for us to close the year out. But at this point, our revenues are off 0.6%. So I don't know where 40%, I heard that rumor floating around, our revenues are not off 40%, they're off 0.6, again, 0.6%. That's what our revenues are off. And our expenditures, which is where our increase in fund balance comes from, are off 5%. But that's what we want. I keep hearing the notion that Hawkins County can't live within a budget or can't stay within a budget. They absolutely can. All the office holders and department heads have done an outstanding job and have turned in 5%. That's the additional $1 million that you're seeing. So just wanted to clear that up for anybody who was confused on that.
And if anyone read the Kingsport paper the other day, I hear people talk about commissioners making all this money. How
Lord
they
have
do
mercy.
all this with our money and all that stuff, and if they read that and saw that Sullivan County gets substantial amount more than we do, and it actually pointed out what we actually get.
I mean, if anybody wants to look at the budget, it's 51100. They can see what you guys make. It is
But
not,
you know what I'm saying,
yeah. This information runs rampant.
because I think that's good, I think we did well.
Well, I do too. I mean, I wish this next year looked a little better on paper. I mean, unfortunately, it does not look great. But we do predict revenues conservatively. We do project expenditures a little high to make sure that we have good things like this happen. We do have good people in positions who are good stewards of the county's money, and things like this typically come out decent in the wash at the end of the year. I wish we had a little more revenue for this year, absolutely. But our last year's budget is coming together very well.
And the fact that our fund balance actually increased from last year, that's what I was aiming at.
Absolutely, yes. Our fund balance has increased.
And we
need to
did
protect
for a
that.
pandemic, or still in a pandemic, so.
Yes. And although I don't want to celebrate or jinx us, but our revenues are still coming in strong. Where a lot of people have struggled, our sales tax is still coming in ahead of schedule. So I hope it continues to happen that way. One school of thought was with people not traveling as much, they've spent more money in-house in our county. And so our sales tax has still done strong. Like to be conservative in case that ends up changing at some point, but we've endured a shutdown from greater part of April and still have our revenues coming in well. Like I said, we still scale them back next year just in case to maintain that conservative approach, but it didn't happen for us in sales tax anyway.
And one thing that I've mentioned in the last county commission meeting was the concern of how wheel tax for the month of June would come out.
Came out
Where
very strong.
was hopeful that it'd be about 250,000 is what I was actually praying for. It actually come in at $395,033. So
It was a tremendous month. It counteracted the month of April. When it first hit in April, wheel tax took a hit. But May saw a nice rebound, and June saw, as far as I'm aware, the best month we've ever had on record. Now granted, that $395 doesn't go solely into the general fund, but a large portion of it does.
and the lowest month for the fiscal year was 189,109, and that was in April. So that's what I think prompted
Yes.
some of the figures that trend could continue.
And I think a lot of that can be chalked up to when they put the extension in there. You didn't have to renew at that time.
Right.
And, as that extension winds down, now more and more people are getting back to business and renewing, so.
That was through June 15th, wasn't it?
I believe so. I don't remember if it was June or July, but I think it was June 15th. Yep. Couldn't push it off any longer. It was time to renew.
Is that, $752,374? That what we're looking at right now, as far as
That
taking
year,
out undesignated fund balance?
yes, sir, that's the current state as of right now, factoring in 1.6% for the raise of the COLA for the sheriff's department.
And just to clarify on that point, why you brought that up, 1.6 is a COLA adjustment. That is in addition to the fact that they are on a step scale as we are on a step scale. So that affects their scale, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I just want to be clear that everybody understands that that is a scale adjustment. They are already on a step scale, so they get raises, although those who are topped out would not. And I think their scale, if I'm not mistaken, is on an 8-year step, so some of those officers would not receive one because they would be topped out. But other officers would be receiving their natural step raise anyway. The 1.6 is a scale adjustment for everybody, affecting those who are not topped out as well as those who are.
And that 1.6% actually goes along with the, resolution that was passed.
It does, it does. That is the CPI for this year, and in that resolution, if I'm not mistaken, you put some verbiage in there that said, you know, assuming the county commission can afford it, then that is what we'll try to tie to.
Sorry, Commissioner Packard, you have something else?
No.
Anything else on the current state, or do you want me to go on to some other information, some other business?
I know there's some questions, but I got a feeling it's probably coming, so.
Well, I've got some other speaking points if we're done with the overview. You want me to jump into those? Okay. Governor's grant, that's why we postponed the last meeting. The governor's grant was in a state of flux. Originally, there was a lot of restrictions with how that money was to be spent. Since the last time we met or postponed our meeting, essentially all of those restrictions have been lifted. Now, due to your last full county commission, some of that money is already now obligated. So from what they figured was roughly 1.1 million, of that 500,000 is now obligated to the Carter's Valley area water line project. So we have roughly $675,000 there, and we need to discuss what the intention is for that money. Does it go into the general fund? Does it go into capital projects fund? Which would be my favorite pick. But up to the committee, you know, what it is that you guys would like to do with that money. Me personally, I would like to see it set aside as the pandemic is not yet over. And although we've been spared to this point, we don't know what's gonna come down the road, and I am not, for one, in a hurry to spend it. I would like to see it set aside, and we can react to it later. Set aside a general capital projects fund, and now be spent without the full commission's approval. It's not going anywhere. There's currently no expenditures in that budget scheduled. It's sitting aside for a rainy day as we need it, or if we determine we don't need it, then it's in our capital projects funds for other upgrades and things that we may need to do that we can do without having to change our tax rate in that. But I'm open to discuss any options or suggestions that you may have with it. That's just my 2 cents on it.
One-time deal.
It's a one-time deal. I mean, they may come up with something else down the road, where they do some other supplement because of county struggling from the pandemic, but this money is once only for sure, so.
Well, the other expenditure that's looming out there is the radio system.
Absolutely, and I hope that there's an emergent CBDG grant still in the works that will hopefully fund that. But if not, this sitting in capital projects would be a fine place for it to sit until that became necessary.
That was my point.
Yes, sir, absolutely.
But is there certain areas that you can only use that pandemic money in?
Not anymore. Originally, that was the
Okay.
case, but not anymore. You
I
can
know
use
they
it.
were working on it, or trying to change it back to what they did get it, they did get it changed.
They did get it changed.
Okay.
You can put it in the general fund and call it revenue lost if you want.
Yeah.
Because initially, the resolution for the water line would not have qualified.
No, because we do not own a utility company, and so originally, it wouldn't have allowed the pass-through money, but that has since been lifted. It's wide open.
Let's go ahead and get that settled, so we give Mr. Buchanan, pardon?
Mayor, what was that other, how much was that other grant you're trying for radios?
It'll be a total of about 255 if we get it.
So we got 675, 250.
And at any point during the fiscal year, if you find out that this radio fix is gonna be $450, you can always do a budget amendment to add in whatever that grant doesn't cover to supplement the rest of the funding for that project.
Yeah.
But if we spend it, you can do that.
At this time, we need to, go ahead and, make a decision so that we can give Mr. Buchanan, notice of where he needs to, place that grant, those grant monies.
If that was put in capital projects, as you suggested, and we needed it for in some other area, can it be pulled back out of capital projects?
I want to say yes, but I'll double check on that, make sure.
And if it went into capital projects, if we really needed some of that, could we use that toward the radio system?
Towards the radio system, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we could, but I want to ask that question.
So the radio system would be considered capital project. Radio system would be considered capital project.
Yes.
Yeah.
But as far as just shifting it back to wherever else may be needed, general fund, solid waste, I'll look and make sure that be permissible.
So you need a motion, Chairman? I make a motion, we do put the remaining, it's $675,000 in capital project.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Gibson, and a second by Commissioner Jesse. Any further discussion? Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you all. All right, another point of interest, we had a unexpected retiree, and so I would like you guys to accommodate us there for some training and some additional part-time. Ms. Wallace has decided she would like to switch to a retiree status, and so that puts us in a little bit of a bind. And I don't know if you all are familiar with what Ms. Wallace does or not, but she's a very integral part of the mayor's office, and that is an area where we would really like her to be able to transition the new replacement. It is not a permanent part-time position, not asking for anything permanently. She wouldn't take anything permanently, but I would like some increased funding in 5-1-300-169 so that she can stay on an as-needed basis, which is all she's willing to do, is an as-needed basis to get us through and is a training basis. So if we could have an increased allocation there, that would tremendously help this office smooth transition.
What page is that on?
Seven.
I would personally like to cover it at worst case scenario. Ideally, I'd like to see in the ballpark of 16,000 there temporarily. Of course, if we don't need it, we won't spend it. I would ask that you guys please strongly consider that. I know it's an additional expense in a budget that's already in the red, but that would be money very well spent to make sure that this office seamlessly transitions. And there's a lot of paper that flows through this office, and a lot of it went through her. It'd be great to have her on as a part-time status, getting this new person up to snuff.
So when she actually retired?
She already did. So it's operating and continuing budget, we already have that line, thanks to Ms. Gladson, but we won't be able to have her as much as we need to if we don't get some increased money in that line, so it's already upon us.
So you said $16,000 increase?
Is what I would like to see ideally.
That puts it back close to 2019.
And if you remember, that's pretty similar to what we did with Ms. Roberts when she left. Just like to kind of do the same thing, you know, those positions that would really benefit from having her still around.
she have 30-year in?
She does. If I'm not mistaken, she's been here since around 90.
I think it's saying 90 or 91, I just.
Okay, so the consideration is an increase of $16,000 in line item 169, part-time personnel,
Yes, please.
bringing that cumulative total mayor, estimated budget of 575,186.
Plus whatever applicable social security, which there'll be no retirement on a part-time basis, but a little bit of social security there as well.
As personnel committee chair, Mr. DeWitt, do you have anything to add?
I don't see where the personnel committee would have any objection to it. Can't speak for them, but you'd be all right, Bob.
Yes.
Entertain a motion.
So,
Motion by Commissioner Gibson,
Second.
second by Commissioner Goins. Any further discussion? Any objection? Motion passes.
I greatly appreciate that. I think it'll pay dividends having her around to train this new person. One more conversation point I'd like to have with Mr. Street is here in the hallway waiting, so I was gonna let him know that his part is up if he doesn't care to join us.
You already have a replacement in that position.
Teresa's gonna take it.
Okay. Who's gonna take Tracy's job? The domino starts.
Sir.
Sorry.
There's wipes there, if you'd like to wipe it down before you sit down. Mr. Lawson was there previously.
Just on the street is the director of the health department. The reason I brought him in is we had a situation where he had a budget amendment at the latter half of last year that was going to help with some upgrades to the building as well as the phone communication system. And I had a little misunderstanding. I thought that traditionally you guys had to bless this transition. And I guess in theory you do if it's typical money that hasn't been spent. But where this was already appropriated for a specific project, and that specific project did not get completed, it is tradition to just roll that into the next year. But since he's already came and you guys are here today, if you had any specific questions on those said projects, I figured you could ask those to him. But considering he did not get a chance due to the pandemic and just things being slow at the end of the year, getting business done, those communication upgrades did not happen as planned last year, nor did that building repair. So those expenditures are gonna need to come out of last year's budget and be placed into this year's budget. Unfortunately, it'll make our bottom line in next year's budget look a little worse. However, it's a net nothing on the fund balance because it means the previous year will look a little better because they didn't happen there. So the net effect is nothing. It just makes one year look a little better and one year look a little worse. So, if you guys have any additional questions on that for myself or Mr. Street, we're both here to take.
Typically, all things equal.
Yeah.
Typically, all things equal, these funds, the availability of these funds would not have happened, except for COVID-19 and the pandemic, which resulted in, less foot traffic in the health departments. There were decreases in the use of office supplies. We did have some gaps in staffing where we did not fill a position for some time because we did not need that position at the time. So had all things been equal, the budget would have more likely been expanded as it would have been proposed last year. But as a result of decreased activity, this was an opportunity to take funds that were already budgeted and use those for the purpose of making improvements to the Rogersville Health Department in some things that could be addressed that might not have been the case if we were just looking solely with Ms. Davis's budget and what money she had to make those type of improvements for that facility. So I wanted this to be an opportunity to use funds that were already budgeted to try to make those improvements. Therefore, if it allowed, Ms. Davis to use monies for other departments, you would have the opportunity to do as such.
What action do you need there?
I'll have to look at that budget amendment that we did, but I think it was roughly $25,000 and $22,000. Does that sound about right?
Total funds that were moved, was 22,000, into maintenance and repairs and 25,000 into communication equipment.
So we will put those into the next year in a separate line, earmarking them as last year's funds to not be convoluted with this year's funds and make it look like this line is increasing. So you may see if those lines already exist, a duplicate line. If they don't already exist, then you'll see them still in there as notated as last year's carryover funds. You don't need to actually do anything. I just wanted you to be aware of it and have an opportunity to ask some questions about the projects, but I just wanted you to be aware that you'll see that in the third draft. Unless anybody was opposed to it. But it's a great use of money, but like you said, it was already allocated. Didn't have to come back and ask you guys for additional money. Budget amendment was already approved to handle these things, just due to timing, didn't get wrapped up last year. Just a timing issue.
I'll call for questions. Assuming none. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you all so much.
Those are all the major issues I have going into the third draft. Be happy to answer any questions if it has any. If not, then I'll start updating actuals as they come in and as they're made available. Put changes in as such.
Is there? Get back on that second
What's, have you run the percentage on, because I have not, since we've been in here, the fund balance versus expenditures?
I have not. Be happy to do so, huh?
Let's do that real quick. Does that say, well, I think we've kind of selected as ensuring we've got a target set. No, I'm glad you came up with that question now.
We've got $6,207,000 on this day fund balance,
That's right.
and with $752,000 from that, $5,455,000.
I see it at 33.6%.
33.6, right in the sweet spot.
We definitely need to keep an eye on that as the year will progress. If we kept it as such, obviously I would hope that we didn't actually trend 752 into the red. If so, then we would strongly need to look at adjustments in future years. But if not, then yeah, that's where we need to be. Of course, I'd always take more, but 33.6 is not too bad. Did you see see it the same way, 33.6, did you figure it as well?
That's what I had, prior, was,
And so far, the only thing we did today that would adjust that would be that $16,000, and that's not gonna move that needle very much.
Any more revenue at all?
Not that I've seen yet that I feel comfortable shipping anything. Now, when I start putting in more of these actuals, I haven't got the, Jim's trustee report yet. Once I put that in, I see something that makes me feel good about the way it's looking, I may shift it, but, I try to, react slowly when it comes to increasing revenues. I react quickly to dropping them when I see something negative happen, but I'm a little slow to raise them. I like to see it happen in 2 years.
Through all this pandemic, have we had any businesses in the county shutting down, anything major? Mention maybe a bunch of it, chamber, do you know?
Well, a lot of our industries have been closed. TRW just, started back up. Some of the businesses have been in. I don't think Miyake has started back up yet. A lot of the, Cooper Standard, I think is starting to come back very slowly. Of course, Contour opened back up and had a, case, and so had to shut that down and sanitize the plant. So, it's been a slow process. And
But what about Toby's on out of business, Toby's shut,
Going out of
Toby quit?
business. I haven't looked at all, we have had several that have, you've got Goodies is gone, the shoe show is gone. We've had some restaurants that have shut down, but then something else just went in there. I think up, on the other end, throughout the county, we've lost several businesses. Hopefully, we're gonna get somebody to go back in there, because there are people looking at the buildings, but, it's gonna be a slow process. Of course, with our industry shut down, it's hard to get people, you're losing salaries, you're losing, some of their tax base, because they don't have that income to spend. I think it will take a toll, but I think it's gonna rebound back. I think we're gonna be okay. ABB has went strong through the whole thing, even with an incident. But they have, they make bearings for the food industry and for FedEx and Amazon, so, they were all booming at that time. Car sales are down. You talk to, our one vendor here, car sales are down. The car sale industry, period, is down. They can't get parts because, it's a chain reaction. You gotta have parts for this to get parts for that. And the chain reaction's not happening because you got people shut down.
I don't know, I think right now, what's it been, 4 months, roughly, this give or time. I don't know if we could really predict how much it's hurt in revenue, or how many places have shut down or will shut down. Because it's gotten worse the numbers have gotten worse. Now, that's because they've tested a lot more people. I know we've got Tennessee, but I know the number of Tennessee's got a lot higher.
And it's gonna, being where we are, being a rural area, we haven't been.
That's helped.
Bad, haven't been hit as bad as, other areas. But, if we continue to be restricted, like our restaurants, you've got a restaurant that has 25 tables, they're only allowed to operate at 50%. So it's gonna hurt them.
Well, they generate a lot of revenue.
They generate, well, in your fast food, I don't know whether y'all have been trying to get line in fast food, but fast food has done really well. And I think, I think you're gonna see some trends where some things will never open back up. You know, that they've seen that they can operate on this, this scale, and, you know, you got a lot of people that are gonna continue to work from home because it's a cost savings for the company if they work at home, so, you know, it's gonna depend on how, you know, how long this continues. You know, like you said, if it gets worse, our numbers have trended up a little bit. I think right now in Hawkins County, it's 57, it's 57, but I think that's only 12 active cases, if it's still 12.
Yeah.
You know, most of them have recovered. We haven't been hit. Our hospital, you know, our hospital's a good example. They have, not had revenue that they normally would have because they're not doing the procedures they have. The health department, same thing. They've got people that are, you know, working from home but are also, not getting paid, or getting furloughed or whatever. So, you know, it's gonna be a long term of looking at, you know, what, how it affects everything and how we recover from it.
Mr. Buchanan, quick question, on the personal property tax, commercial, it's slightly down, I mean, a nominal amount. Is that typically attributed to depreciation?
I'd have to consult with Mr. Thacker on that, I'm not really sure. I would
I'm
say that would
sorry.
probably be a mixture of depreciation and lack of new industry, but that's just speculation.
Sorry to pose that question.
No, you're
It's
fine.
off the cuff, but any other questions, concerns, comments? So in lieu of having our committee meeting on the 20th of this month, we are going to have a meeting at 5 o'clock prior to the Center Commission, and that'll be inclusive of all commissioners, so that we can ensure that everybody's fully briefed on the budget before taking county commission full vote the following August.
That's on the fourth Monday.
Yes, yes, sir.
Yeah, then on the, is it, I believe we're gonna have a public safety meeting on the third Monday, 15th.
So essentially, then third draft is July 27th at 5 p.m.
Or would we be able to distribute that third draft prior to the meeting?
Probably.
That way to give everybody opportunity to look over it.
By mail, that would be expensive, wouldn't it?
I would probably do like we did last time, leave them in a box and a breezeway and just tell you they're available. Because yes, that'll be a large packet to send out. We're trying to get away from large postage, that would not help.
All right.
Would you be able to email?
I would assume so.
We-
I think we're too large, I think email something like that.
We'll do everything on the
Oh, that would help,
Yes.
you got it earlier,
Yeah, typically, we don't have any, budget amendments in the last meeting of the fiscal year. So, unless there's a reason to deviate from that practice.
First meeting of the fiscal year, and yeah, no, yeah. No, and I mean, we don't have a budget on file to amend, had we passed it on June 30th, we could have budget amendments, but considering we're operating a continuing budget, we don't have a budget to amend. So unless there was some type of financial resolution, some type of grant that needed immediate approval, traditionally we've skipped the first budget committee meeting of the year.
Commissioner Davis, you have anything you'd like to address?
No, I think y'all did a good job.
All right, no further questions or concerns, entertain a motion to adjourn.
So we
Have a motion by Commissioner Thacker,
Second.
second by Commissioner Goins. Thank you. Eric, do we need to do anything on school budget?
In years past, you guys had technically, when you heard it with the joint meeting with the education committee, had actually put on there and made a motion to send it, or to approve it or reject it. And we didn't reject it, but we also didn't officially approve it. It may be best to officially approve it, just to have that in the minutes.
Do we need to reconvene and do that right now?
I don't know what kind of headache that is for everybody, but if we don't care to just do that, just to be safe, I would feel better about it. I apologize, I forgot to mention that.
Yeah, I would do that.
Retake raw.
Or do we just want to do that on the 27th?
That's what I was thinking.
I suggest getting it done now. If we get it done, we don't have to worry about remembering it then.
My apologies, because I didn't even think about that.
But I might have thought about it eventually, because I didn't slip my mind completely. I think Melissa would probably appreciate that as well.
So,
And I have the recording back on.
okay. So can we just move to, I don't guess we can procedurally move to reconvene since we adjourned. Just call
Just call the meeting
the
to order.
meeting to
again.
order.
Now, I'll call the roll. Mark DeWitt.
Here.
Bob Edens.
Here.
Keith Gibson.
Here.
Barbara Goins. Ray Jesse. John Metz. And Charlie Thacker.
Here.
Rick Brewer.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, we have 6 members present.
And thank you. Turn the floor over to Mr. Buchanan to go over the school budget.
As previously stated, at the last meeting, traditionally, we're supposed to either accept or reject the school's budget. We didn't officially get that on record, so if we can entertain a motion to accept the school's budget.
Make a motion to accept.
A motion by Commissioner Edens and a second by Commissioner Gibson. Any discussion? The tax levy remains the same with all categories of the school budget as it was last year. No questions or concerns? Any opposition?
Thank you. Try to remember to do that on the front end next time.
All right. Now motion to adjourn.
We adjourn again.
Motion by Commissioner Gibson, second by Commissioner Thacker. Thank you.